Alright, it is 9:55 a.m. on a Monday, and going over the weekly recap, I did try to sell better, and I also did try to, on top of that, just trade larger in general, try to really stick to my dollar risk level. I did have a few trades. I had two trades and a few attempted buys that didn't go through. Let me first go over those as well. As you can see, I had two verified cancels at 9:31. I didn't get filled. Maybe there was a chance I could have been filled, but I didn't in this case, and that was with TGGI. Why? Because if you look at a 15-day or I guess 14-day 15-minute chart, you can see that an ideal breakout level is this 209 level, or maybe this 204, but basically around this level right here. And it's not always the best when it has a gap up into that breakout level, because it might be floating on air, and it might shut it down immediately, and downtrend, and towards the bottom, which it could totally do. I don't remember this. Was this real? I guess just leave this one alone. Right? I guess that was real. I never saw this when it happened. This would have been a nice trade, I think. Actually, the way it got there was kind of hard. Maybe it would have been nice. It depends on how I really traded that day. I wasn't watching it when it was doing that move, but I did try for that reason when it looks like it was trying to do that, multi-day, resistance breakout over that level. And for that reason, I did try to get in at 204, 205 at 9:31. And I just did not get filled right here, 9:31, 204, 205. I didn't get filled. It did a nice move. It went from that level to, the very tippy top, which is 22. So, I mean, that would have been pretty nice. I didn't get filled. I think that was like 5%. Maybe if you count the very top here at 22, it would have been nicer. But I didn't get filled, which was fine. And then ILUS seems to have like this problem. Maybe it's fixed now, but the level 2 was just off. It seems like it was trading with a bit of a delay, and I didn't want to necessarily trade blind, but I did trade ILUS. I wish this one didn't trade as ugly as it did today. The spread isn't as bad as it's usually been, but I don't know, the way it just trades, maybe there's just this not a lot of, you know, trades going through, and that's why it was kind of choppy. But I did have an attempt to buy at 1625 at 941. Again, taking into consideration that the level 2 was kind of off right here at 1625. I didn't get filled at 941. And the idea was is that if it were to go back to the 16 level and it looks like it's going to break it, or we're seeing prints go through at 16, I'll try to get out immediately. And I did get filled later right here. Yeah, so my canceled order. Oh, I accidentally went over the order where I went in. At 9:38, I was interested in at 16.2 at 9:38, not 9:41, right here, back here. 9:38 at 16.2. It did work out, but you can see how ugly it was and how ugly it got there. But in theory, it worked out. And yeah, that's when I was in actually. Okay, let me hide these verified canceled orders. And okay, that makes sense. All right, so yeah, I was in ILUS at that price point at 941 again, and I was in at 16.2 right here, 941 again. I'd be cutting it if it were to go back to 16 and there are prints going through, like these red prints looking like maybe it's gonna break under 16, which it could have very well have done. And it was also like in theory a support level. Looking off of this chart right here was support. This was something where it broke past, it came back to the level, give or take, not an exact science, around 16, and then it made a nice move. So it was something that it could have played off of. It didn't have to, but it did here. And this is when it started being a little ugly. And so what happened was is that I'm in at 16.2, and then 16, basically like this, 16.25, and then the ask goes to 16.5. It wasn't 16.4, and I just didn't like that price action, because it's very hard to get out higher than the bid, of course. And it's just I hope this isn't too confusing, but in theory, I tried to sell at 16.4, and at the time it was 16, I believe 25 by 16.5, and I had a partial fill, which threw me off because I canceled the order because it didn't seem like it was going through, and I was gonna just wait a little longer. But it did execute at the very end, 150 shares at 16.4, which was kind of annoying because then I wasn't sure exactly how many shares I had available, right? And with all of that confusion and then it looking kind of weird again at around 944 right here. I've seen it where it has like a quick spike towards VWAP. So that's why I was interested in selling immediately because it made the move towards VWAP. It might not get much further, although it did here. Sometimes it just does a little blip and then it downtrends and it goes back to the lows, and that's what I was worried about. But this one did take a while to do it. It actually did it. And that's when I saw the rest at 16.25. So I didn't really make that much here at 945. 16.25, which was the bid, essentially, is when I got executed. Again, it did break higher, but I didn't like how I had a partial fill. This is kind of like the example that I would be considering getting out. It's still holding 16.1, but I'd probably be very ready to sell at 16 if we see prints go through at 16 because it might not be easy to get out. If it starts going through at 16, it might cause a lot of panic selling, and I don't want to be the guy trying to sell at the 15s because I didn't get filled at the 16s. But I have no interest in trading this the way it's doing it with the spread and everything like that. But this could have been like a double bottom setup, but yeah, it didn't really look that nice here, although it could do it. I did trade TGGI. This one worked a little nicer. Essentially, it had a morning spike that I tried to be a part of. It went to this 22 level. It downtrends under VWAP, and it's holding this 2 cent level. So I wanted to play off of that, thinking that maybe it could be a dip buy. Not the best because again it's up on the gap up, but I had that in mind that it might not work as well for that reason. I was in at 948, 203 right here, 948, 203. Not the best entry. I mean, I did get like the bid, but in this candle right here, you can see it traded a bit lower, but in theory, it looks like it was trying to do it just right here, immediately right towards VWAP, which is 208, and it downtrended a little bit, but it never broke under my, never broke my risk level. It never touched it. If it were to have touched this 2 cent level, I probably would have been very interested in getting out, even if it holds, just because the level 2 seemed off at the time. Now it seems like it might be accurate. I'll have to keep watching. And then I sold at 206 at 952 right here. 206 because it made the move towards VWAP, very similar to ILUS. It just had a pop towards VWAP, and there was a lot of sellers at 209, so I was out at 206, and I'm pretty happy with my sell there. It might try to be a higher low here and work towards this level and maybe break out. And make a move towards 21. But right now, there's a lot of sellers at the ask. It's further away from this 2 cent risk level, so I'd have to trade a smaller size too. But that's the case there. I'll look at ILUS to see what this one does. It's pretty ugly, but just happy that I got it with TGGI. Unfortunately, I didn't get that morning spike. I hope this wasn't too confusing, but I am trying to, be more aggressive, not take things personally if the setup didn't work when I got in, and make sure I'm sized appropriately. Alright, it is 12:24 p.m. and I want to make an update. I've been working on other things, but I did have an interest in DPLS because it had that spike later in the morning, and it had a dip under VWAP. In theory, I could have been in at some 558. But once it got past VWAP, I thought, okay, if I wasn't in at 558, which was a point where I could have been in, it was lower earlier, but I liked it a lot at 558 because you can see there was more volume here, and at the time a bunch of bidders jumped in at 556, and 558 was looking kind of small, and there wasn't like an obvious big seller with size right above 558. So at that point, I should have been in it, but I wasn't, and it did uptrend. But the thing is that the volume isn't really that nice looking anymore. But it did make a move from this 56 level to 56.9, almost 57. The problem is that you can see the bid for a lot of it here was at 562. So I would have been in at 558, but if I would have sold at the bid at 562, I wouldn't have made that much. It would have been a very small gain. It did uptrend a little later to 57.7, and at that point I could have probably have sold at maybe 57 at the bid here, and that would have been a little more profitable. But 56 to 57 is not a huge percent gain, and the volume isn't there. So I didn't take it. I don't, feel, too attacked by not taking it. If it had a lot of volume, I would have totally have taken it, and I would have felt a lot worse if I didn't, trade that because I hesitated or whatever. As for the other ones, no interest with ICOA. It keeps downtrending. It actually broke this level at 1 cent, which was pretty significant. And I don't see anything here. I could try to turn around later, but I'm not really interested in something like that. ILUS did break under this 16 level eventually. I don't like the price action. If it had more volume, if it was less jumpy, a tighter spread, this would be something where I would like to be in at 15.7. And it did get to VWAP, which is 16, but it didn't get much further than that. It downtrended, but it never broke under this range, at least, for a very long time. Which is nice. And as for CYBL, no interest in this one here. Again, same price action as ILUS, nothing really too nice. HMBL did have news come out today. Maybe if it breaks the 16.8 level, it could be something interesting. But as for right now, it's not. And TGGI just downtrending. And this one was a runner. I would have liked it if it dropped under VWAP or towards VWAP early on in the run-up, but now it could bounce from here or maybe break under it and then turn around, but I'm less interested in it for that reason because it's later in the day, volume's drying up. It's also a sub-penny stock. If there's any setups, I'll make an update, or if I trade anything, but this might be it for today. Alright, it is 10:59 p.m. and I am here to call it off. Overall, I am up $4.69 with 2 trades. And looking at my spreadsheet now, I should have went larger on ILUS, maybe in theory 5,000 shares, which would have brought it to a $10 risk level. And as for TGGI, this one I severely undertraded. I thought I was sized appropriately, but I think next time I can nail it and be better. But theory, this one I should have been in 30,000 shares, and that would have made today an $11, almost $12 day. None of the setups worked, especially well, but they weren't horrible either, and that was trading ILUS for the morning panic bounce play, which did not really work that well way back here, and me trying to sell into this uptrend that was kind of low volume and with a wide spread. It looks like it did downtrend, and it got all the way to 14, which is pretty sad because the idea with this is that it was uptrending over many days from this 12 level as high as 21, and it would have offered maybe multiple morning panic bounce plays to trade, but it only offered one, and it looks like it dropped so much that it might not have the momentum to really offer another nice one in the future, which stinks. But at least it did offer this, which was kind of messy, but it did offer something. And it looks like it did downtrend the rest of the day. I guess it was a good short, if anything. And the second trade to go over was TGGI, and that was way back at 9:48 a.m. right here when it had the uptrend, and it had a downtrend under VWAP, and I did trade this right here. It did touch VWAP again after putting up like a baby higher low, but after that it didn't do much. It's still holding near its highs, and this one can do really nice quick panics, not necessarily in the morning, but really nice bounce plays, as you can see. There was one on Friday, which I did not see, but I think that one on Friday was kind of hard to trade. Let's look at the other things. ICOA continued to downtrend. Unfortunately, now it's a sub penny, which is going to be something that I'm less likely interested in trading, especially if the day that it downtrended was so big. Maybe it's going to kill off the momentum for it to bounce in the future if it has a morning panic bounce play. CYBL is down 16%. Also a similar thing. Really unfortunate that these things are downtrending so much, which means it's less likely to be a morning panic bounce play in the future. HMBL is still hanging in there, which isn't so bad. And maybe this can be a morning panic bounce play, but it isn't that nice because the overall daily chart is worse than all of these. But it still has a run up from this 9 cent level to, the 16, 17s. Looks like definitely morning panic bounce plays are not going to be as nice. DPLS can still be an opportunity. I was watching this right here. I hesitated, and it did drop towards VWAP again here. Again, very iffy price action, but it did do something from 56.8 to 59, so not extremely horrible, but a bit scary when the volume is as low as it is. Ideally, when the markets are much better and there's a lot more volume, I can really take advantage of that and trade with size and really profit off of it. I don't know if I went over TGGI, I forgot, but it's still hanging in there. Yeah, I did went over this one. This one can offer morning panic bounce plays in the future, and as for this one, KG, this one did hold VWAP. I would have liked it if it happened, sooner in the day, not necessarily later here when the volume is dried up, but because it is such a, high range stock, it didn't make a move from the 62 sub penny level all the way to 72, which is impressive. And I was looking back, there isn't really a pattern of this having just one day spikes and downtrends. So maybe this one might try to continue over the next few days to uptrend, which would be cool because then I would be super interested in dip buying it on an uptrend, maybe under VWAP or morning panic bounce plays if it can run for at least 3 days in a row. That's all I have for today. I needed to have traded larger on TGGI. I wasn't too far off with ILUS, and I think it's a step in the right direction, and I have to keep getting better.